Hi class. Another feature that you'll find on a standard surface weather map are called isobars. Isobars are these white lines that you see um, on a weather map. These are indications, these are lines of equal pressure. That's the definition of an isobar. So everywhere that you see an isobar on a map, everywhere that you see that particular isobar, the pressure is exactly the same. For our purposes, though, what we're going to do is what I want you to get out of this right now is let's look at the spacing between these isobars. That, for our purposes right now, this is what we're going to be concerned about. Looking at the spacing between the isobars. And the spacing between the isobars, this will give us an indication of the wind speed that you'll find at locations on a weather map. You can get a good indication of what the wind speed is going to be just by looking at the spacing between the isobars. All right, so there is a term that we're going to use talking about a pressure gradient. Okay, so a gradient is a change in some property over a distance. And in this particular case, we're talking about a pressure gradient that refers to a change in the pressure over a given distance. And so if you have a large change in pressure, over a distance, okay, we call this a large pressure gradient. All right, and so a large pressure gradient, or a large change in pressure over a distance, is going to appear on a weather map as closely spaced isobars. So whenever you see those isobars closely packed together, we refer to that as a large pressure gradient, and the isobars are going to be closely spaced together. So it appears on a weather map as closely spaced isobars. Okay, and the important thing here then is closely spaced isobars So closely spaced isobars will equal strong winds. So whenever you're looking at a weather map and you see these isobars closely spaced together, winds are going to be strong. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So we've talked about high pressures and low pressures. So let's say that we have a low pressure on the map and high pressure on the map, and in between the two of them we have isobars. And so these are the lines, these isobars here, and they might look something like this. And whenever you have closely spaced isobars, this is going to be an indication of strong winds. So I'll be asking you every week to take a look at the weather map and to get an idea and to make seat of the pants forecasts, to explain what's going on a weather map. And anytime you see isobars are closely spaced together, that's going to be an indication that the winds are strong at that location. So opposite of that, so let's take a look at the opposite of that. Let's take a look at small changes. If you have a small change in pressure, over a distance, okay, we call this a small pressure gradient. So a small pressure gradient, the pressure is not changing a heck of a lot over a distance. Okay. And on a weather map, this would appear, this appears on a weather map as widely spaced isobars. And the important thing here is that widely spaced isobars will equal light winds. Really widely spaced isobars, you're probably going to have calm winds, okay? And so they're with widely spaced isobars, there's a small pressure gradient, there's a very small change in pressure over a distance, and that's going to be equate to light winds or even calm winds. So again, let me draw this out. If we have a low pressure on a map and a high pressure over here, and perhaps we only have a couple of isobars on the map here, this is going to translate to really light, okay, or weak winds. So we're looking at the spacing, the distance between isobars to determine the wind speed. Weaks, sorry about that, or weak winds. Okay, so that's isobars. And again, when we have our weather map discussions, I'll be pointing these things out to you. The next thing we're going to take a look at is fronts. We'll look at two types of fronts, cold fronts and warm fronts, and that'll be coming up next.